The longest 5 minutes? How long is 5 minutes? Here we go! Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Wormys Playhouse, and today I'm going to be talking about the longest 5 minutes. This is out on Nintendo Switch. It's an old school 8-bit turn-based style RPG. It's kind of reminiscent of Earthbound, very inspired by Earthbound. It has that same classic 8-bit, 16-bit style graphics. The turn-based battle system is very much the same. Even the enemies pop up on the screen much like Earthbound does, so it is very inspired by it. So if you're looking for an Earthbound style game, you know, this could be something for you. So I'm briefly going to talk about, you know, what the game entails and whether or not if it's worth it for you, if it's worth your money or not, if the story is compelling enough for you to play. So the story, the hero faces the origin of all evil, the Demon King himself, but suddenly loses all memories of his adventure. His memories of his finishing moves, the name of his hometown, and even the reason he's trying to defeat the Demon King in the first place. All gone, our hero feels as though he's letting his allies down. In the midst of battle, his allies' words and the Demon King's taunting triggers the hero's flashbacks, bringing his memories back piece by piece. The hero tries to regain his priceless memories before it's too late, but the Demon King stands before him, his power unyielding. What can happen in the longest 5 minutes? So the moment that you begin this game, you'll be thrust into battle with the final boss, the Demon King. The battle will advance along by the choices that you make and decide. While the Demon King's power builds, the story will develop through the dialogue that you have with your allies and the Demon King himself. In 5 minutes, the Demon King will win the battle, and his evil will reign supreme over the world. Can you stop him in time? So it's really interesting how the game just kind of thrusts you into the final boss of the game. It starts off at the very end, and you have to regain all of your memories, and there's dialect, and depending on what dialect you choose will affect the story of the game. So the Demon King will charge a special move, and you have to kind of counterattack it, and you have to regain your memories. So all of a sudden you'll go through a flashback, and it's through your flashbacks which is where you actually play the game. That's the actual main story, is through your flashback, and you'll go through certain towns and dungeons, you'll meet new characters and different quests that you'll go on, and you'll begin to regain your memory as the story unfolds. And as you regain a little bit of memory, poof, you go back, thrust into the final boss, and your character regains his memory, and he's like, that's right, I have this special move that I can use, and you'll dodge the attack and counterattack the boss, unleashing a lot of damage on him, and then your other allies will jump in, and then again, something will happen, and you have to remember your memories again, and that's pretty much how the game plays out. It goes back and forth between final boss of the game and the main story as you're regaining your memories. So it does have an interesting premise there and new game mechanic that I haven't really seen in many games before. But is this game for you? Because I have seen a few reviews giving it very low score, saying that the story is really boring, the gameplay is too slow, the battle system is really easy, it's just not an engaging enough game, especially for the price, because it is a higher price at $40. Is that $40 worth your time playing this game? Especially when you can play other 16-bit style RPGs for much cheaper. There's a lot of great games out there for like $10 to $15. And is the game easy? Yes, the game is easy. The battle system is fairly easy. The enemies aren't too difficult at all. I found that there was times I'm just progressing through the game. This battle system, the enemies are just easy to get through. There were a couple of times that the bosses were kind of difficult and I did struggle a little bit, but majority of the game, you kind of went through it pretty easily, and it was mainly just a story that was pushing you along. So if you're really looking for a difficult and engaging combat system, I wouldn't advise that this game is for you. And then there was a lot of people saying that it's just a traditional RPG, there's nothing new about it, you know, the story is boring, there's nothing to go along with it, just starts off the same as every other game, and I have to kind of disagree with that. Well, yes, the main story itself does start off traditional. While you're in your flashbacks, it starts off, you're the hero of the town, the Demon Lord has taken over, and there's enemies throughout the land, and you have to go out and conquer them, go out on a quest to defeat the Demon Lord, and you have your group of adventurers, and you're going from town to town. It's a fantasy-based style RPG, so that in itself is very traditional. There's tons of RPGs that have that same concept. However, the main mechanic of the game that I haven't seen before is that 5-minute final boss. As soon as you start the game, it just throws you into the end battle, and you have to defeat this final boss, but you lose all your memories. So how do you defeat the final boss where you're supposed to be overpowered and leveled up all the way, yet you can't remember anything? So you don't know how to use your techniques, you don't know how to counterattack or dodge anything. That's the main selling point there, is that interesting game mechanic and the story itself. While yes, it's just a regular fantasy style turn-based RPG, the story does start off very traditional. However, that is the main selling point for the game. You play RPGs for the story, and I've seen a lot of people rating this game and saying it's not worth my time, I put 2 hours into this game and it's too boring for me, I don't want to dive deeper into this game. However, 2 hours, that is not nearly enough time to be able to rate a game. You have to really dive into a game to unfold this story. Majority of RPGs start off really slow, especially games back in the SNES days. Most of those RPGs at the beginning, well, you could just have them all be the same story. They just basically unfold over each other. It's really once you get halfway through the game and towards the end is when everything starts to unfold. And that's why you're playing an RPG, is for the story. If you're looking for an engaging combat system, looking for something fast-paced and action-packed, well, there's other games out there for you. However, the longest 5 minutes, you're playing it for the story. That's the main selling point for this game. And it does a really well job at telling a story. I was really engaged in the story. At first, it starts off slow, but as you unfold it, it just keeps getting better and better. And then about halfway through, you're getting more characters that are being thrown at you that you can go on different adventures with. And it's kind of neat because the game kind of forces you to play as these different characters. So some of your allies will step out for a bit because some story element will happen, and these other characters will step in, and you'll go into a dungeon or a quest, and you'll go into a dungeon or a side quest, and you'll have these new allies along on your team, and then they'll split off and you'll get your other allies back. So you get to play along with many different characters throughout the game. And the music goes a long way to really enhance the story. That's what's really great about RPGs, is the music. It really sets up that story and really pulls you into the game. So it does have really great music, it does fits it really well, but really once I got all the way towards the end is where everything really unfolded. And this is where it got really emotional, and you can tell that they put some effort into developing this story. Because even at the end of the game, you have new characters being thrust at you, and you would think, well, these are just going to be throwaway characters. However, they turn out to be the most important characters of the game, and they managed to pack in a lot of character development in that short little bit of time for these new characters that they just thrown at you, and they turn out to be the most important ones. And there's a lot of twists and turns towards the end of the game. A lot of the story just flips over on itself, and this is where it gets really compelling. This is where the game really pulls you in. So if you only played a couple hours of this game, and yes, the game isn't that long, and you could take about 8 to 10 hours to beat the game, but if you stop short, well, you're not gonna get the full story, and you're not gonna get to dive into that world and see what they unfold for you. However, the game itself is fun to play. If you enjoyed Earthbound, then you'll enjoy these game mechanics, because it does play a lot like Earthbound. However, Earthbound was set in a modern world, this is set in a fantasy world, so it does have that same basis of combat, and you get impacted with so much emotional story and character development all at the end, and everything flips over, and that's the best part, and that's where I was really enticed by the game. I had the most fun trying to get the right story at the end, because there are multiple endings, which is really nice to see. So is it really worth your $40? I mean, there are other games out there. There's Golf Story is a really enticing game. That's only a $15 RPG, and that plays a lot like Earthbound. So if $40 is on the steeper end for you, which it is, then I'd recommend playing Golf Story, or there are tons of other RPGs, 16-bit style RPGs out there, and I just did a video about it. So, you know, watch that video, and you can see all the different 16-bit style RPGs that are out on the Nintendo eShop. But is the longest 5 minutes worth your $40? Well, maybe the game should have been a little bit cheaper. Maybe it should have been $30 or $20. I'm not entirely sure. But I gotta say, I did enjoy the game really much. I thought the story was really compelling, especially about halfway through, and you really want to unfold everything that's going on. You want to regain all your memories and see how the story plays out, and it's really enticing at the end, and it's really emotional. It brought tears to my eyes. There were a few sad things that happened, and there was a couple decisions that you had to pick. You had life and death situations that you had to pick, and it was like, well, how do I make this decision? Which one do I choose? And it will affect the game. So if a game can really touch my heart and bring tears to my eye, I think that is worth the price alone. I think, yes, it is worth the price tag because the story is really compelling and you will be engaged in that story. But that's just my opinion. I do enjoy these type of RPGs, so maybe I'm a little bit biased. Again, there are some other great RPGs out on the Nintendo Switch eShop that are cheaper, so you can dive into those worlds. I do recommend Golf Story. Again, I just did a video on it. But if you are looking for a fun story that it's not too long, you know, about 8 to 10 hours, I do think you will enjoy the longest 5 minutes. So that's going to be it for today's episode of Wormys Playhouse, and please like, comment, and subscribe. And we'll see you again for another episode. We'll see you then. Bye!